You're walking down a sidewalk, or a dirt road, or maybe across a lawn. It doesn't matter. You're looking at your phone, or just thinking about something. Your foot makes its usual motion. The sole touches the ground, and right at that moment, a crunch. That very specific crunch. You just stepped on a beetle. What do you do next? Nothing. You don't even look down. You think, just a beetle. Happens all the time. You take a second step, a third. You keep walking. And here's the biggest mistake. Because you just triggered a chain reaction. You pulled the trigger, and you have exactly 3 seconds to do something. But you don't know anything about those 3 seconds, so you do nothing. And that's a shame. In this video, we'll break down each of those 3 seconds, frame by frame. No panic, just pure biochemistry. I'll tell you what really happens when your shoe sole meets a beetle's chitin shell, and why the phrase "no big deal" is the most dangerous thing you can tell yourself. We're using real data from entomology, immunology, and toxicology. No internet horror stories, only what's backed by research. Ready? Then put your foot down and don't move, because the first half second has already started.
Here's the moment of contact. Let's say you weigh 70, 80 kilograms. All that mass hits a tiny point. The pressure at impact, hundreds of atmospheres. A beetle's chitin shell is tough, but not that tough. It shatters instantly. That crunching sound you hear, it's not just a crack, it's the sound of an exoskeleton breaking into thousands of microscopic fragments. Each of those fragments is sharp as a razor. Each one is coated with substances you wouldn't even guess exist. In the first half second, the beetle itself dies. But that's not the interesting part. The interesting part is what flies out of it. Imagine a balloon filled with paint. You pop it. Paint sprays everywhere. Same thing happens with the beetle's insides. Hemolymph, that's insect blood, gets expelled under pressure. Along with it, enzymes, proteins, tissue fragments, and if it's a certain type of beetle, toxins as well. All of this ends up in the air and on your skin. You just don't feel it because the nerve endings on your soles aren't that sensitive. You feel pressure, surface texture, but microscopic particles? No, they're too small, too fast. The beetle is dead, its contents are in the air and on your shoe. You still don't know anything, and you take your second step.
1 second. The particles that came out of the beetle aren't just sitting on the surface. Some of them rise into the air. Their size ranges from 1 to 10 microns. That's 10 times thinner than a human hair. When you take your next step, you create microvortices. The air under your sole compresses and expands. These microvortices lift particles upward, right up to the level of your ankles and shins. But the main danger isn't in the air. The main danger is on your skin. The sole of your shoe usually protects you, but here's the problem. Nobody wears shoes with perfectly smooth soles. Micro cracks, seams between sole and upper, fabric inserts, all of these become particle traps. And as you keep walking, every movement, every step, that's pressure. Particles get pressed into the fabric of your socks and sneakers, and from there, a direct path to your skin. And here's the worst part. The skin on your feet and ankles isn't as tough as the skin on your palms. Sweat glands, hair follicles, these are ready-made entry points. Through them, particles penetrate the upper layer of the epidermis in a fraction of a second. You don't feel it because the particles are too small for your mechanoreceptors. Your body doesn't get a "something just entered" signal. 1.5 seconds have passed. The particles are already inside your skin. But your immune system is still silent, because it doesn't know yet, enemy or friend.
2 seconds, and here's where the truly terrifying part begins. Not because of poison, not because of infection, but because of camouflage. The proteins that made it onto and into your skin along with the beetle fragments have a certain shape, and some of these shapes, either by random chance or evolutionary cunning, resemble signaling molecules from your own body. What does that mean? Your immune system works on a self versus non-self principle. Scout cells check everything that appears in your tissues. If they see a foreign structure, they attack. If they see something familiar, they ignore it. The problem is that some beetle proteins look exactly like your own proteins. Immune cells read them and think, this is self, don't touch. But these proteins are not self. They're a false signal, and they give orders. To which cells? To those responsible for inflammation, to those that control vessel permeability, to those that regulate body temperature. A beetle protein lands on your cell's receptor like a key in a lock and triggers a program, raise alarm, widen capillaries, release fluid into tissues. Your own cells obey the order. They think the signal came from one of their own.
2.5 seconds have passed. You still have no symptoms, but the process has already started. Your body has just begun attacking itself. This isn't an allergy in the classic sense. This is a false alarm planted right into your own recognition system. You stepped on a beetle, and the beetle is already inside you, in the form of deceiver molecules. Three seconds. The first thing you might feel is a mild burning sensation or itching, right where your sole touched the beetle, or slightly higher on your ankle where particles entered through the edge of your shoe. You'll think shoes are rubbing, mosquito bite, just a random itch. You'll scratch your leg and keep walking, because the symptoms are so mild, so ordinary, that you'll never connect them to that beetle. An hour later, the itching might get stronger. Old redness appears, sometimes small blisters like from nettles. A day later, usually nothing. Your body handles it, flushes out the foreign proteins, calms the inflammation. You'll never know that a real war was going on inside you. But in some cases, in people with certain genotypes, with sensitive immune systems, the reaction gets locked in.
The next time you come into contact with the same beetle species, your body remembers the false signal and unleashes a real storm. You step on another beetle a month from now, and suddenly your foot swells up, or your temperature spikes, or a rash spreads across your whole body. You go to a doctor. The doctor says, allergy of unknown origin. And you'll never remember that crunch under your sole a month ago, because you, like almost everyone, are sure that stepping on a beetle is no big deal. But now you know the truth. 3 seconds, false signal, self-attack. If you've listened this far, you're no longer the person who walked past that crunch. So do 2 things. First, subscribe to the channel, because I have a dozen more of these ordinary things that are actually extraordinary. Second, write in the comments, do you even look at the ground, or do you walk like everyone else? In the next video, we'll break down what happens when you swat a mosquito and why there's always a drop of your own blood on its proboscis. Spoiler, it's an even stranger story than the beetle. Subscribe, hit like, it costs you nothing, but it helps me make these breakdowns. Because who else is going to tell you about 3 seconds that biology textbooks stay silent about? That's it. You can watch your step or not. Now you know that what decides things isn't your eyes, but your own traitorous cells.